All right, so I just finished week 2 of Ryan Tedder's monthly songwriting course. And before I dive into sort of the day by day of what I worked on, just some general comments. It is like really awesome to see Ryan go through his songwriting process. Like I said, the course is largely unedited when he's filming, so you see all the little mistakes and everything. And it's just like a privilege to see his songwriting process because he'll try a lot of different melodies, a lot of different lyric ideas, and some of them aren't great. But when he stumbles on those little nuggets that just sound amazing, you can just see the passion and the joy that he has when he I don't know, when he stumbles upon those, and it absolutely shines through the camera and while watching the course. So that to me is just really rewarding and great to see. The other thing that I wanted to address before I dive into a lot of the nitty gritty here is one of the questions was, does Ryan give feedback? And the answer is yes. So I got a notification not long ago. And so if we look in the course here and we go to the peer group, Ryan is technically one of the peers, so you can click on his name and you can see that he does comment, and he comments, basically he commented on the finished song for the first project. So you can see like he gives some pretty decent feedback, pretty detailed I mean. So if we go through some of these, and like even for this guy, Ryan's not fluent in Spanish, but he said he would kind of consult with his buddies and kind of see what they think, which I think that's pretty cool. He seems to be going the extra mile. And then, yeah, some other comments here. So he does provide feedback, which is great. And scrolling through here, he provided feedback for about 14 to 15 songs. I don't know how many groups there are, but the way that I'm thinking that it works is that he probably comments on the ones that are very well liked within a peer group. So if we look at this, I mean, holy crap, this song has 315 songs, or 315 fans. This one has 140. Now, there aren't that many people in a peer group, so obviously people have seen this since Ryan has given feedback and have liked it after the fact. But my guess is that he probably decides to give feedback to the ones that have some of the more fans attached to them. I don't know if that's how he does it, but just sort of a common trend that I saw. But either way, really glad that he does that. To be honest though, this doesn't make or break the course for me. He did not provide feedback for my song. I don't care. I've gotten so much valuable feedback from this that it doesn't even really matter if he comments on mine at all, because at the end of the day, it's not going to make or break whether or not the song that I make is going to be some commercial hit or not. So with that being said, I'm not like sad that he didn't comment on my song or whatever. All right, let's dive into kind of the day by day or lesson by lesson and go from there. So I think when we left off from the last video, week 1, I was just doing the lyrics and song concept. This was definitely the hardest part for me, like by far. I have maybe written one other lyric in my life, maybe like 1 or 2. And some of them are like joke songs that I did with friends. I don't think I've actually sat down and tried to write a song with the intent of having lyrics on it. So this was a crazy challenge for me to do, and the bulk of this past week was doing lyrics and then finalizing the first song. So in this lyric video, Ryan goes through his process for creating lyrics, or at least one of the ways, which is to basically find the gibberish that you've sung on and to see if there are any sort of common themes or phrases that might make a good message or song title. And so when I was doing that and listening to my song, there wasn't really anything that popped out as far as my song, so I had to take somewhat of a different approach and just formulate a theme on my own and try to construct lyrics out of it. But you can look and you can see like this video is an hour and 30 minutes long. So you get to see his entire lyric writing process. And as I said at the start of this video, you see every little variant that he has for his lyrics. And some of them are good, some of them are not so good. And he kind of goes through why he decides to pick certain lyrics and why he decides to reject certain lyrics, whether maybe it's too dark, maybe it's too cliche, maybe it doesn't provide a good bridge to the chorus. And he really tries to, again, think out loud when he's creating his lyrics so that you can get a better understanding on why he feels certain lyrics tend to work better than others. So really great to see this, because it's just not a process that I've really seen a lot of people do, like to spend an immense amount of time crafting lyrics. And he definitely is very picky. That is one thing that I really appreciate, is that he easily could have half-assed this. He could have easily just picked some half-baked lyrics. He could have easily done a cheesy vocal melody, but he's really, at least to me, really trying to put a lot of effort into this, as if he were actually going to pitch this to an artist. So that, to me, is really helpful, because the lyrics he does come up with are very good, actually. I could easily hear the song that he wrote being on the radio, no doubt at all. So then the next thing, you have your project, so you have to write your lyrics. And what I do like about these projects, these tabs, is that they give kind of a good summary of what he talked about in the video, because sometimes the videos are very, it's all trial and error, him trying things, and again, some things work, some things don't. So when you go to these project pages, it kind of gives a nice, concise summary of what he talked about in the video, so that you can kind of, if you aren't necessarily taking notes, you can get the big take-home points. All right, so it goes through that, and then you submit your lyrics. I will play my song in just a second, or at least part of it. But for now, let me kind of go through just the other sections here. So the next thing was getting peer feedback on lyrics. So you had to, again, submit your song on time. Lyrics didn't have to be finalized, but they had to be fleshed out so that all the lyrics had to be done. And so for this section, my lyrics were done when I submitted this, but they were sang real lightly and just not well produced. But anyway, so I had 3 people that I had to review, and so my song also was reviewed by 3 other people in the peer group. And again, they gave good feedback, and I actually implemented some of the changes that I received. Implemented some of the changes and critiques that I got into the final song. And then finalizing the song in light production. So this is about an hour long. Basically, this is Ryan talking about how he's going to arrange the tracks. He does a lot of vocal ad-libs to add a lot more layering to the track, which I thought was really helpful to see, because again, that's not really a technique that I've really employed a lot, if ever, because I just don't record lyrics much at all. So seeing how he does that is cool to see. But again, this part of the course is not so much focused on how thick can your production be. So this is very much how can we add the elements. So he adds in some bass, he adds in some percussive elements, and then it's largely the production value is going to be, at least with what he does in this song, is largely a layering of vocals, which he does a lot of different variants of. Next was recording and producing vocals. So this is Ryan talking about the actual gear that he uses when recording vocals, and then the different plugins that he uses when recording vocals. And one thing that I like about this video is he at least tries to break things down into he basically breaks it down in terms of budget. So if you have an unlimited budget, he goes over the top end microphones. So the microphone that he uses in this video, I think he says was like $10,000. I'm not purchasing that. So he kind of talked through some other options if you are a little more budget conscious. And then he talks about his vocal chain that he uses, which surprisingly is not that in-depth. I watch a lot of YouTube videos on people who talk about their vocal chains, and it's like 10 to 12 effects. Ryan doesn't use that much. And I don't know if that's for the purposes of this sort of stripped down song that we're working on, or if he really just uses a few plugins. But CLA Vocals is one of the ones that was mentioned before, and I did get that. And I will say that CLA Vocals is tremendous for vocals. I'm not gonna like spoil what the other plugins are. You have to enroll in the course to find out. But anyway, really good video for just talking about vocal production. And then final touches, mixing and mastering. This is Ryan talking about just what plugins he recommends to master a song. I use Ozone on mine, but Ryan talks about different plugins that he uses, and again, much more simpler than I was thinking. I was expecting like him to have this long drawn out list of different things that he uses, but Ryan loves presets, and that has given me kind of like a breath of relief, because I watch YouTube videos and people are so dead set on dialing in knobs to perfection. Ryan uses presets for a lot of things, and if he uses presets, I'm cool with it too. So he, again, just talks about what he uses as far as mastering VSTs. Okay, and then the finished song. So then you have to go, you get about a day or two to finish your song that you've written, and then you have to submit it to the peer group. And again, it kind of gives you a brief little summary of the stuff that was covered in the previous videos, so that all the kind of take-home messages are there. Okay, and then I'll show you what I wrote. So this is basically my finished song for this part of the course. So I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I'll play the verse and chorus just so you have an idea of the vibe for it.
It was late at night, we were out with friends. We danced and laughed until the very end. You caught my eye in a different way. Something inside of me had really changed. I wanna make you mine, share the night with you, and all the future days on through. I should have seen the signs, I shrugged them all aside, and thought everything would be alright. Because we seemed perfect for each other. You gave my world a brighter color. So why can't I shake this mask around me? I feel like a stranger in my body. You look in my eyes.
Boom, there we go. So there's my finished song. And I have to say, I am actually pretty proud of it. I went into this course not thinking that I was going to drop a line of vocals on this. I was honestly just thinking I was going to come out with 3 instrumental tracks and I would have to get someone else to put vocals on them. But this has really pushed me out of my comfort zone to try to be creative and put vocals on my track. And I really appreciate that. It's a much different animal to try to create vocal melodies, create lyrics, as opposed to just doing instrumentals. And it's been rewarding just to kind of go through that experiment and go through the trial and error of getting something to sound good and not make it too cliche. So I think the lyrics of the song are good. The hard part for me is I try to cram too many lyrics into a vocal melody. And so I have to learn to strip that back and make sure that the melody is king and the lyrics have to help support that. And that'll be something that I work towards in the future parts of this course. So now, the part 2, I just started this today, exploring new sounds and creating a vibe. So we're basically repeating part 1, but now with thick, luscious production. So Ryan starts with a drum beat, and he programs the drum beat himself, and he talks about the software that he uses to accomplish that, and then he formulates vocal melodies on top of that drum beat and fleshes it out from there. So he talks about how to layer snares, how to layer snaps, and how to make it to where the frequencies of them aren't colliding too much, and adding EQ. He does a lot. Layering choirs, What else does he do? I don't know. He adds a lot of different things. He mainly focused on the drum sounds and bass sounds. He adds a Moog synth, and by the end of the video, he has essentially a pretty rough idea for a verse and a chorus that he will expand upon in the later lessons. So now my assignment is I have to do basically the same thing. So he probably had about 30 tracks running just of different samples and various things going on. So this is going to be a lot more involved, just because I think my other song only had about maybe 15 tracks on it. It wasn't really that much. So it'll be interesting, but I'm looking forward to getting started on it, which I'm going to do pretty much as soon as I'm done with this video and upload it. So yeah, he definitely goes through a good amount of the production, but again, I don't know what you're expecting from this in terms of the production element. I think people expect different things. He doesn't go through a lot of the nitpicky stuff, like what each individual knob does of a compressor. He doesn't necessarily go through why he EQs things a certain way, and he just kind of drags dots and then boom, he kind of, and I imagine that's kind of just from years of doing songs and figuring out what sound that he wants. But sometimes he doesn't always go into the why of when he uses a compressor or an EQ or something along that lines. It doesn't really detract anything from me, and in fact, I find that the less technical stuff that I know, the better for it, because then I can focus more on just finding a good sound and not what technically should be the right sound by following some logical formula, if that makes sense. Yeah, so final thoughts. I mean, the course is worth it. If you're wondering whether or not to get this, it's a no-brainer. You absolutely should. The only negative thing, or not even negative things, but just room for improvement, if someone from monthly decides to watch this, is the peer group. When you go into that, occasionally people will comment and just want to interact with the community, but the problem is that it gets lost in this forest of assignments. So for someone that actually just wants to say, hey, what's up, you have all these assignments here, so it'd be nice if you could have maybe a discussion section and an assignment section. But other than that, I think the class is really well done, and I look forward to seeing how the rest of it plays out, and I will be sure to update you with everything that goes on within the course. So I hope that you found this helpful, and if you click somewhere in here, you will be able to access week 3 when that is released. All right, have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you in the next video.